Hello, everyone. Welcome to Game Junk Prototype episode 65, recording on Thursday, June 10th, 2021. My name is Frank.
My name is Sean.
And my name's Andrew.
And we've got the Summer Game Fest Kickoff today. Is this an official name? Am I getting that right, Sean?
I think that's the name. I mean, it's the most wonderful time of year, though, Frank.
Presented by Amazon Games. We're going to talk about all the major announcements, including Elden Ring, which people are pretty pumped about. And we'll get into some stuff we played, including Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade and a few other things. But just getting ready for E3 next week. Can't wait. Big announcements coming up. Even today, it kind of came out of nowhere. It snuck up on me this year. And it was pretty fun to have like a huge... I couldn't even get through it all. I tried to watch all of Day of the Devs after. There's too much stuff now. We got to keep this stuff short and succinct. It's too much information to take in before an episode.
There is a lot. I mean, like, especially when you look at the schedule for E3 over the next week, like, it used to be just like the big 3 or 4, you know. Now there's like every little publisher has their own thing.
Yeah.
It's getting crazy.
So, I mean, it's just too hard to keep up with sometimes. But let's get into Summer Game Fest 2021. I'm going to be looking to you guys, and I'm not going over every announcement. I'm not going through every Rocket League meets Fast 9 cross-promotion. Don't care about the new Among Us bullshit, whatever they're doing. No, people love that game. Don't care about 2B, and I'm basically going through them all. In Fall Guys. I just wasted our time completely, but going to go over the major stuff. So, you know, this conference was not dedicated to one platform. It was a celebration of cross-platform and a global gaming community. So let's get into one of the announcements. PlayStation exclusive Death Stranding Director's Cut with presenting, as well as a developer studio that looks like they have an exclusive partnership with Sony, all part of the global community. Anyway, that's probably not the biggest stuff, but I really, it was such bullshit. Anyway, let's get into Elden Ring first. It's the thing everyone was waiting for. Last announcement, new From Software game coming out early 2022, January 21st, which took me a bit by surprise, not going to lie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's quite soon.
Basically, to me, looks like something in between Sekiro and Dark Souls. It was kind of tough to tell. There wasn't a lot of extended gameplay. It was quick cuts, a lot of effects, and it wasn't like... I really couldn't get a feel for the pace of the gameplay. But... definitely intrigued by it. To me, it looked closer to Sekiro than Dark Souls. Maybe I'm projecting because I want another game like that. But I don't know if I was as blown away as I thought I was going to be. Maybe because it's PS4 and PS5 or, multi-generational. It didn't like wow me graphically, even compared to something like the Demon's Souls remake. But I still think it looks really good. And I like the worlds they create. And this one is no exception.
Yeah, I was getting Dark Souls with dragons. I was also getting a little Kingdoms of Amalur vibes. Especially when, like, I don't know why, but when you are touting a game written by George R.R. Martin or, like, you know, world established by him, and then all you do is show a bunch of quick cut combat, like, why even associate him with the project?
Well, I think the two people on the project, it really is just a marketing name thing, right? Like, they're first of all, Dark Souls in general, and I think From Software games are known for, like, it's a weird narrative thing that people love. It is, as a player, if you ignore it, it is completely shallow. You almost get nothing, right? But then within the details of items, there's like almost this whole world of embedded narrative that people are obsessed with. And like, there is backstories behind all these bosses, and there's fragments of that story when you talk to NPCs and stuff in the game. But as someone who doesn't care about story that much, I don't get that. But I know people who are really into the story of those games. And I think it's like you take From Software, which is already known for like building deep, beloved worlds, and then add the same thing from George R. R. Martin to give it fantasy integrity, it's like a done deal, so to speak. Like you can't go wrong with it. I disagree. I think you can definitely go wrong with it. But I mean, you take a proven gameplay formula. I don't care about story anyway. So it's like, okay, if you were concerned about story, there's nothing to be concerned about. It's a day one purchase if you're into this stuff. So,
But they didn't show any of the story. I mean, the only thing they showed that was kind of like George R. R. Martin-ish is the dragons.
but there is no story in From Software games. Like in it, like you don't see a cutscene. Like there's a few CGI cutscenes. It's not like you watch people talk in those games very often. It's like it's very loose, but it's deep, and people who care about it seek it out. It's not like a company that's throwing story in your face. So it'll be
I
interesting
guess
to see how George R. R. Martin integrates with that type of idea. That might be something
that's what I mean, though. He's known for like lots of characters, like deep backstory, political intrigue, like lots of
Of dialogue.
infighting, lots of dialogue. Like he's not known for like dragons. I mean, maybe he is for people who just like watch the show on a surface level or something. But like he's known for more of the politicking in the books and that kind of stuff. And this game showed zero of that. So, I mean, I don't know. It had me, I think, less interested in this project. This trailer.
I guess, like I haven't played any of these games. They're not really for me. The trailer didn't do much for me. I think the one thing I am kind of interested in is the George R. R. Martin factor. But you're right, Frank. I don't really get how he integrates into this. Like you're not going to collaborate with George R. R. Martin just to come up with like subtle backstory for artifacts in your world. I don't think so. I mean, it's hard to tell.
You're doing it literally to just put his name on it.
I guess that's all it is.
Like I want to see the contract they signed. You come up with 12 names. You work on this for 3 days. We'll give you this much money. We put your name on it.
Maybe that's all it is. But I mean, I guess I'm a little curious too. Like not having played a lot of these games, I'm kind of like, well, at some point they're going to come out with the one that's like the really accessible one that tries to get the mainstream audience. And maybe this could be the one. Maybe I would check it out. But I mean, so far it kind of just looks like what I've seen from their other games. So it doesn't seem that different.
You don't like them is not because they're not good games. It's because they're hard.
Right. So that's what I'm saying, though, is that like maybe this could be one that's trying to get a bigger audience and won't be insanely hard. But then again, I guess that would just alienate all their fans, and that wouldn't be the point.
The weirdest thing. That would happen, and that's kind of weird to me. That people would be mad that it's not hard.
Yeah, I mean that's what they're known for.
Exactly what people would do. So anyway, I was slightly underwhelmed, but still think it looks really good. But okay, the next biggest announcement or kind of new big thing was Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, which is, let's be honest, it's a Borderlands spin-off in a fantasy world. It's the same core design from what I can tell, with some new mechanics that I think they said spell casting and some other stuff that integrate it into a fantasy world, which I think could be a lot of fun. I think that's a neat idea. I liked the fantasy vibe of the trailer. I'm not into Borderlands that much. Not that I dislike it. I just can never really find enough people to play. And every time I start it over again, I'm like, it just doesn't take for some reason. But I don't dislike the game. I don't know.
For me,
this is based on DLC from Borderlands 2, which I guess people love. I don't know too much about it.
For me, every time I see a trailer that just lists a whole bunch of actors, I am immediately turned off and never want to play it ever. Because I am not playing a game to listen to Will Arnett's voice. I don't care that he's in the
Lego
game.
game show debuting. What's that show called? Did you see that?
No.
I'm kind of intrigued. It's like it's kind of like a cooking show, but building Lego stuff.
Lego Masters or whatever. That's been out for a while, I think.
Yeah, is it
the
any
first
good?
season was out. It was all right from what I saw.
Okay, yeah, I mean, no gameplay for this, just kind of a teaser, as Huck said, a star-studded.
Yeah, I mean the fantasy element is kind of unique though, right? Like when you look at all the looter shooters that are out there, I think they are all sci-fi or sort of modern world settings. Because fantasy is more like sword and shield. Looter shooter implies guns, but I guess that's maybe where the spell casting comes in.
Hmm.
So I'm kind of curious. I've dabbled in Borderlands. I'm sort of interested.
Look, I'll be buying it. Let's be honest. Will I play it? Is the question. It's no longer a question of will I will buy. It's a question of will I play. Let's get into the next one, just because it relates to the show a little bit. I don't think it's that big of an announcement or that much of a surprise. But Sean was hoping Kojima would potentially be signing an exclusive deal with. I'm not saying it still can happen, but he was teasing a new project he's working on. Let me make sure I get this. I think he said about 12 times he's reimagining his creative process.
Yeah, that interview was kind of painful.
He just repeated himself, like, not even in that different ways. It was almost verbatim the same thing 5 times. And I'll give him credit, though. He did say the E word at least twice, to my recollection, making games that are entertaining. So thank you, Kojima. But the main takeaway, that was Death Stranding Director's Cut coming to PS5. I was going to play Death Stranding. Now I'm like, should I play it? Maybe it's an auto pop trophy. Ooh, this is a big debate right now for me.
Now, did anyone else think that he was basically just going to remake Metal Gear from that trailer? They showed like a facility with guards patrolling, and then he takes the cardboard box off. He gets in it. He like teases you that he's going to like put it on his head. Yeah. And then it just ends. Like,
yeah, it was the weirdest
I thought it was a tease joke kind of thing with the cardboard box. And I was thinking, maybe there's like a VR mission, Metal Gear tribute.
Yeah, I thought maybe Solid Snake playable character in Death Stranding or something.
To be honest, that patrol setup that was there could be in the game, and people who've played it are familiar with it. And I just never made it that far in the game, so I was kind of lost as to the significance, other than the cardboard box, of course. But yeah, just a minor announcement there. Some other small stuff, Metal Slug Tactics. And
I thought that looked actually pretty cool.
Yeah, it seemed like it was up your alley, Huck.
Yeah, I thought for sure it was going to be a new Advance Wars game or something, but I was like, this is Nintendo. How could this be? So
as soon as you saw it, I knew exactly.
Oh, I didn't recognize it as Metal Slug right away, but when I saw that it was like a tactics game, I was very interested. I thought it was pretty cool, and there hasn't really been that many tactics games that focus kind of on like ranged combat, which this appears to be doing. So yeah, I'm kind of interested. It looked very polished, and I think it's kind of cool that they're using kind of like a known or a semi-known IP to get it off the ground, which is kind of cool. I thought this was going to be right up Dwyer's alley as far as interest, but
yeah,
especially with the like G.I. Joe style intro cartoon they did.
Yeah.
All right, the other thing I guess that was kind of notable okay, sorry, before I get to that. The other big game that I thought looked a lot better than I thought it was going to be was the Evil Dead game, which I guess it's an asymmetric type game like Dead by Daylight. I really can't tell. I'm assuming it is because you can play as I can't remember what it's called.
Isn't it just like Evolve?
The demon or something, yeah. Using the Raimi fisheye kind of moving camera for that, I thought was a really cool idea. And I feel like they've integrated ideas from the movie or the series really well into whatever that kind of trailer gameplay thing they put together was. So this game really wasn't on my radar, but after what I saw today, I thought it looked pretty good.
Yeah, I thought it looked cool. I guess like there's a part of me that feels like it still just kind of looks like generic horror game. Like it's not, granted the original Evil Dead is not as much a comedy, but I would have liked to see maybe a little more humor somehow thrown in there. And maybe it is. You just couldn't really see it in the trailer. I like that you can drive the car. That seemed like a nice little touch.
I thought they were gonna say like, and if you don't want to fight or something, you could just drive away. I didn't know what they were going at with the car at first.
Yeah, I don't understand how that works into the gameplay, but it's just like I guess the iconic Sam Raimi car that's in all his movies. I think that's what they were going for there.
I actually didn't think that looked that interesting, but I also am not really into those multiplayer games, so it could just be that.
Yeah, I mean, part of me was like, I would have been more interested if it was like a story based game instead of like a multiplayer thing, but I'll give it a chance.
And to me, the other most notable thing was this idea of a musical performance tied in with the game and showing footage of a game, which I thought was pretty good. Like the first one was Japanese Breakfast, I think. Was that the artist?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
showing Sable, an open world like cell shaded game that I thought looked awesome.
Yeah, I'm psyched for Sable. So one of their previous trailers was they did use a Japanese Breakfast song. So I guess I don't know if it's the same one, but obviously there's some kind of tie there. One thing I was excited about, they did announce that there's going to be a bunch of Xbox demos this week. This is one of them. And also, I think Tunic was mentioned, so I'm excited to try both of those games.
I was thinking about that. I'm never playing a demo again, especially if it's a game I know I'm gonna buy. Like, what am I wasting my time for? I'm just gonna play this whole section again when it comes out. Like,
Well, that's an interesting thing. What I have for when we get into what we played, I played a couple of demos, and there was an interesting discussion on the Discord about is it worth playing demos? So maybe we can talk about that a bit more then. But it's a fair point.
and then the other one that did that, which I didn't think the game looked all that great, but it was Wave Break, which is known as the first skateboating game, not skateboarding, and a performance by Weezer. I mean, the last few Weezer albums I've not been crazy about, except I didn't mind the last one, oddly enough. And this song I didn't mind. I got to be honest. I didn't think it was that bad. I kind of dug it, but I don't know. It looked okay. I just like the idea of, getting a decent musical performance and showing game footage in between. I thought it was a cool way of doing it.
Yeah, that worked better than I thought it would. Like I know when they originally mentioned that there was going to be musical performances at this thing, I was kind of dreading it. Like, oh, this is going to be bad. But mixing in the game footage was like it worked quite well.
Yeah. I thought it was really neat. I liked it. I'd like to see more of it. Some other stuff here. Oh, the biggest disappointment to me, I had read about this before I started watching, like a synopsis of a new Left 4 Dead gameplay design style game, the Anacrusis. And the gameplay footage did not look that good to me. Like the enemies kind of looked like the same thing over and over again. It looked kind of stilted. I kind of like the art style. I think I need to see more of it, but I've been begging for more games with that design pattern, basically co-op shooters. And this one just, I don't know, it didn't move my needle too much.
Yeah, I mean, I did like the look of it, but I agree gameplay wise, there wasn't a lot that was setting it apart. Kind of hard to tell sometimes with these trailers, but yeah, I'm not really too sure what to make of it currently.
Yeah, nothing really interested me in that one. It did look very generic. It did look like just the same enemies just kind of coming at you in generic waves. And it almost looked like the people who were playing didn't know what they were doing. Like it kind of looked like there was enemies behind them, around them, like on the far side, like they're just kind of surrounded, and there was like they're just kind of like running through this tunnel or through this area. Like it didn't really look like there was a point.
Yeah, I mean the game might have potential. It just seemed like a poorly put together video and like gameplay trailer.
I thought the guns looked like really underpowered or like just not fun to use. Just kind of a random thought, but like it seemed like they had to shoot the enemies like a billion times, and it just didn't. Even from just the visual, it didn't seem less satisfying. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
There's a new publishing label called Prime Matter that announced like had a bunch of very quick images from games, including Payday 3. I don't know, kind of interesting, I guess. In the same breath, I guess that. Oh wait, what's it called? The name of the studio that was aligned with PlayStation? Deviation.
Yes.
I really like their logo. The eyes going the opposite direction. I thought it was a simple, clever logo. When it's a lot of names have been used up, I was like, oh, that's kind of a cool one. Simple, somewhat memorable. I still remember it. They didn't really say what they're working on at all. It was kind of
Well,
a AAA.
they're ex-Treyarch guys, so you could think it's going to be some sort of first-person shooter.
Yeah, probably. But
They said it was all about quality though. So
that's good. All about quality. It's a good thing to.
Never heard anyone in games say that before. That's very unique.
All these people who don't want their game to have quality, like what?
I mean, yeah, there's definitely a few segments in this show where it felt like they couldn't say anything about what they actually are working on. So
You'll be like, I tried.
yeah, exactly.
Like it started off pretty hot. Not gonna lie, I'm like, ooh, this Summer Games Fest is kind of becoming a big deal, and then it really dipped in the middle. The other game I was excited for was Planet of Lana.
Yeah, that looked cool.
Really good.
But what is it?
I don't know. I don't care.
That was a good question.
I mean, I was like, is this a side scroller? Because all they did was walk. Like once they started moving, like along the side, I couldn't tell what it was. Like it didn't. Even, there wasn't really any platforming.
Flashback or like one of those types of games.
Yeah, but it could be. Yeah, it could be. I don't know. It looked very slow moving, slow paced.
Yeah, they
I did
highlighted
agree
that,
the art style was really nice though, for sure.
yeah, they highlighted that it was hand drawn or hand painted, however they put it. So it looked cool, but yeah, hard to tell what the game is.
I'm going to bring up a bunch of other stuff. You guys can elaborate on anything else that I'm not going to mention or forget. Jurassic World Evolution 2 and Lost Ark, including Amazon or by Amazon Games. And they were really pushing Amazon games and free games every month with Amazon Prime. That was a big thing. They were
And
sponsored.
on that, there seemed like there was almost every game that was tied to Amazon games with some sort of MMORPG, MMO looter shooter, MMO. Like obviously, Amazon is signing games that will require the use of the Amazon cloud, AWS, the web services in the back end to show how well, you can use their services to run games on the back end. And I think that's kind of like their angle they're shooting for. And it did seem like this showcase did have a lot of those sort of like MMO style of games in them, either like brawlers or like the MMORPGs. Like what was another one that came out? Tribes of Midgard was another one that was like a hack and slash kind of like MMO game.
That one I thought looked kind of cool. Although like it there have been a lot of like it kind of vaguely felt like Hades a bit. Like there's a lot of these mythology based games coming out lately. So
The Curse of the Dead Gods, I think. Like,
Yeah.
it's a lot like Hades. I played that a little bit. There was a game that is announced that is out now. My thing, Chicory. I think.
Oh yeah, I remember hearing about that, and I feel like I downloaded a demo of it and I never played it or something. But
Looked kind of cool. I didn't buy it today, but
something like it seemed kind of like Okami or something, where you have to like paint to solve puzzles or draw to solve
There's
puzzles?
a review up here already. Let's see. 9 out of 10 on IGN.
Okay, not bad.
Up there, all
Game
right.
of the year potential there.
That has me much more intrigued. I can tell you that.
Oh, and it was announced via yet another PlayStation contact, or
Nice.
from Shuhei Yoshida.
Part of the global community. A bit of Solar Ash, which I still think looks really good. Chivalry 2. I've never gotten into this game. I was more intrigued by what I saw today. I didn't know it was kind of first person or looked kind of.
Yeah, and I worked on it, bud.
Did you really?
Yeah, you guys know that? I thought I announced this earlier. I thought I talked about it.
Torn Banner? Is
Torn
that the-
Banner, yeah, they're out of Toronto. Yeah, so I worked on it for a couple months, working on like AI and bug fixes.
Nice.
So yeah, go check it out. It's out now. Came out a couple days ago.
The AI. The AI's got to be top notch. Like that's.
Yeah, of course.
All right, cool. I didn't know it was like a 64 player online thing. Like,
Yeah, and it's kind of cool. I guess I could talk about it. I haven't played it since I worked on it, which was like around pandemic times, at the beginning of the pandemic, so it was a while ago. But basically, like they have certain maps, and so there's two teams. Basically, there's like the red and blue. I can't remember what they're called, but then you each get kind of objectives as you go. So it's kind of like Battlefront, or what's the Battlefront 2, where you kind of have to like push towards your final objective, except instead of just like taking over like a waypoint and then just pushing to the next waypoint, you basically have like a specific objective, like break down the wall, or destroy the trebuchets, or like there's some sort of like medieval kind of tie-in objective that you need to complete to have your team kind of progress, and then the other team is obviously trying to stop you from reaching that goal. So if you're into that kind of medieval warfare, it's pretty fun. I played mostly with bots. I didn't play a lot with like lots of players, so I never really got into the minutia of the gameplay. But it's looking really good. I also thought the trailer looked really good, and I pretty gory of a trailer.
Yeah, I remember the first game, that was like the thing everybody talked about, because you can like dismember limbs, and they kind of show that in the trailer, right? Like somebody gets like an arm chopped off, but they're still alive and
Still
kicking.
going strong.
So that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
I don't have anything else written down. I might have missed some stuff.
I have a few things.
Tales of Arise maybe is the other big thing I didn't mention.
Yeah, I thought that game looked really good. I thought the combat looked really fluid, and it had me more intrigued than I had been before. I don't think I've ever played a Tales game. No, that's not true. I've played Tales of Symphonia, I believe.
Yeah, that's the only one I'm at all familiar with. But
Yeah. I think I tried to play Tales of Fantasia or whatever it is when it first came out. It was like this Super NES game that was only localized by like modders or something like that. And I gave it a try on some emulator like years and years ago, but I didn't get very far. Anyways, have some interest in that one. Another one I was looking at was Vampire Blood Hunt, which when they first started showing that, I was really intrigued, because I think that I was actually thinking about this the other day, that sort of like a vampire game that more captures the mood of like Dracula the novel would be really cool. And so I was like, oh, maybe this is going to try to do that. And then what was that?
Reminded me of Blade. Am I the only one who thought that, or am I?
Well, and then
Yeah.
I thought, oh, maybe they're going to go down that like Vampire Masquerade kind of style. And then like by that halfway point of the trailer, it basically just looked like Destiny 2. And then I thought it was just basically Destiny 2 with vampires. So I became less and less interested as that went on.
isn't it like a battle royale game? That's what it says here on the IGN write-up. I wasn't really
Oh, really?
Oh, really?
remember from the trailer seeing that specifically, but
Don't have a lot of opinions on this game. I kind of checked out when it was playing, to be honest. So it's, it's not my.
Yeah. Uh, did either of you guys play Salt and Sanctuary?
Yeah, I was going to mention that. Like, I played that game like a little bit, and then this new one, I was kind of interested in it. I didn't. It looked unique for sure.
Yeah, it reminded me of the way the art style worked and the animation. It kind of reminded me of that Alien Trap game Apotheon. How it kind of like all the limbs kind of move with like vector graphics or however they do that. Um, but yeah, I never played Salt and Sanctuary, but I remember it being pretty big at the time it came out. So I'm assuming this game is going to be pretty popular and have a pretty big following. So I expect it to do well.
Yeah.
And let's see here. There was House of Ashes, which was like the same guys that did Until Dawn and Man of Medan, those guys.
Right.
And I thought this looked like a movie that has been made before. And I was trying to find it, and it might be The Descent, where they like go on down into a cave, and then there's like some sort of like evil thing that starts attacking them.
That is The
Sound
Descent.
familiar? Okay. I don't know. I just thought like this looked exactly like that movie. Anyways, I don't really have an opinion on the game per se, but I think they do kind of good work. So I expect it to be good. And then the last thing I wanted to mention was they showed Dungeons and Dragons Dark Alliance, but how they showed it was were they like pro wrestlers or something playing it like they were Twitch streamers?
Well,
But
it
then
was Hannibal Buress, who's a comedian. There was a wrestler
okay,
and somebody else, and Jeff Keighley, right?
okay, so maybe someone from the dev team or something.
Oh, that's
But
what it was. Yeah.
it was like really fast cuts, and you couldn't really like get an idea of what the gameplay was totally like, and they were really focusing on almost like the commentary of what the people were saying more than the game. And
Yeah.
I couldn't really like get into it at all. It almost turned me off from the game because I just kept hearing these people like trying to make jokes and like talking about what they were doing, and it just turned me off.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely remember Hannibal Buress, and I'm like, I don't, I it was kind of an isometric dungeon kind of game, and I don't remember much about it, to be honest.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
basically just looked like a Torchlight style game with like more realistic graphics. But this might be a good jumping off point into Day of the Devs, because we were talking the last couple shows ago or whatever, a showcase like this, and we were kind of talking about how the like voiceover format for trailers works really well. And this Dark Alliance did not kind of take that to heart. They kind of went streamer style rather than developer style. But Day of the Devs went the better way, where they had a lot of trailers with voiceovers from the devs talking about what you were seeing and what kind of the game had in store, which I think works really, really well.
Yeah, I'm going to touch on the other game a little bit, just in
Okay.
terms of what we were saying originally, which is there seems to be these two strategies, right? And the first one, which we talked about with Wonderlands, is, talk about stars and get like, we didn't even talk about the Far Cry 6 stuff, the interview, which, if it's just, they're taking an approach of like, let's get big stars or recognized personalities that people love, kind of get them talking about a game, and that will draw attention to the game, versus us, where we're like, we want to know what the gameplay is about. We don't really care who the stars of it are. And it's pretty obvious. We kind of check out when it's about the like Jeff Goldblum or whoever talking about it.
Oh yeah.
But like when they're showing cool art style or a gameplay concept that's really unique, then all right, now we're talking. So yeah, I mean, I don't know sales wise which actually works better. Cynically, probably the stars gets your game more attention, so that's probably why they do it. But I definitely it doesn't
Well,
work.
it may not also always be the decision of the developer or publisher, right? Like, I mean, from Jeff Keighley's point of view, And from the point of view of that whole show, being able to say, hey, we've got these guest stars is a big thing.
For sure.
So I think that's part of it.
And yeah, I mean, you can take a multi-pronged approach strategy, right? Like we'll use stars for Summer Game Fest. Then, like I think of that Knockout City game, right? Where we were really unimpressed with the kind of rip-off character trailer we saw at one point. But then when you see it again and you see gameplay, it looks really good. And the reviews have been amazing for that game. So it's like, you know, you don't, just because one thing doesn't work for us, it might work for someone else and attract them to the game. So I'm sure, like, you know, if it's a good game, you'll find it eventually. But, you know, we're just reacting to what we saw today.
Yeah. But guess... just to kind of continue what Huck was saying, I actually, like, I don't know how many people kind of tuned out once the Day of the Devs part started, but that was my favorite part. Like the games they showed, the way they showed those games, it was all way better than the previous stuff.
Yeah,
I thought
the introductions were nice and succinct. It's like kind of almost an elevator pitch from someone at Double Fine, like why they're excited about the game, or like they just 2 sentences that were like, okay, this is a great way to introduce this game. And I agree. I didn't get to watch them all, but everything I saw looked really good. I mean, we've talked about this before. Like indie game art styles are just getting better and better. And like, it's almost a non-starter if you don't have a good art style for one of these games. So
yeah,
they're all visually extremely impressive and exciting. Everything I saw anyway. So yeah, like there are some standouts, even though I didn't get through them all, and I'm counting on you guys to fill in some blanks here. Vocabulantis, the stop motion game using photogrammetry for stop motion models, looked really cool. I really liked the look of Toem, the photo adventure. Mm-hmm. This is kind of the early stuff. Soup Pot we've seen before. I still think that looks pretty good. I didn't see this one, but I'm just looking at an image of it now. The Wandering Village looks really cool.
Yeah, that was kind of interesting.
I found like the high level like animal you're on looks cool, but then when they were like zooming in on the gameplay on its back, I became less interested.
Yeah, I'm just seeing the high level image, and that's what has me excited.
Yeah.
But it isn't like, I didn't totally understand how it works, but like you can influence that. And so it's like there's a little village, but you're on the back of this giant beast. And most of the time you're kind of in the village doing like farming or something. Mm-hmm. But then every now and then it'll zoom out, and I guess you can control that beast in some way. I didn't totally understand how that works, but it's a weird concept. I'm definitely intrigued by.
Yeah. I mean, Axiom Verge 2, Sean, you must be excited. I like that it's almost a different graphical style completely, a different world. Like, I think that's kind of neat. And they were kind of talking about how the difficulty was a inhibitor for people playing the first game. So they were talking about you don't have to beat any boss to beat the game. Wasn't quite sure how I felt about that. Didn't sound like that great of a selling feature, but they said their reasons why, which is nice. Like they actually put it into a context. So I thought it looked pretty good. Had me kind of thinking going back to finally beat the first one.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to it, and I think it's coming out this summer, so that's good. And also coming to PS4 and PS5, they mentioned. But yeah, the first one definitely was very Metroid inspired. This one feels like they're trying to maybe like kind of separate themselves a little bit, which is cool.
It's weird because the first one is like so close to Metroid, right? Like color palette, the walls, the way everything looks. It's like, it's as far as Metroid-like games go, it's the closest ones come to actually being NES Metroid, right?
Yeah.
I kept thinking like, what I was trying to like say, oh, what is this one a copy of? Like, I felt like I was kind of circling, oh, it's this, but it's not. It feels pretty unique. And I like it was like a snow setting almost, which the only game, even though it's not like it at all, it made me think of was Cliffhanger for Sega City.
Well, I did briefly think maybe Shadow Complex, just because that was sort of a Metroidvania, but more set in the real world.
Even though the developer said that M word as part of the broadcast.
Yeah. But the boss fight thing is interesting. I mean, they said, yeah, you don't have to beat any bosses. Like, I assume there's still some challenge maybe in like outrunning them, like if you try to work your way around them. But he also said there's rewards for beating them, so you want to beat them. And I think Hollow Knight has some bosses are optional, so maybe that's kind of an inspiration in some way, but I'm kind of down for that idea.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was actually, just hang on before we move on, I thought it was actually pretty brave that he decided to take the game in this direction. Like, you have a game built on shooting and like a format that's pretty well established. Now, I guess Hollow Knight did it with melee combat, so there is some precedent there. But
or Castlevania.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. True. Yeah. Of course.
he just switched from Metroid to Vania.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah, I guess that is what he's doing. Okay, maybe it's not as brave as I thought. But they did add hacking, of course. So I thought Dwight would be all in.
Definitely.
I think we'd seen. Well, I know we've seen Road 96 before. That's kind of the procedural story-based game. Mm-hmm. Phantom Abyss, like from a design perspective, sounded extremely unique. Like, it's this exclusivity vaulted designs.
Yeah, I thought you might be interested in that part of it.
One person gets to beat it forever, which my first reaction was a love-hate thing. Like, oh, I love exclusivity, but I hate that I'm not going to get to play that if someone else beats me to it, which everyone is going to do. So I thought it was an extremely original design idea. The gameplay didn't look that exciting to me, to be honest. Sean, you said you played a demo for this?
No, not this one. But, this was the first I had heard of it. And I thought it was like a really cool idea. I don't know how that's actually going to play out. So they said, so it's kind of, I think it's first person, right? And it's sort of like a treasure hunter kind of Indiana Jones thing where you have a whip and you kind of have to swing over traps and pits and things. But then there's this idea that other people have played this level before, and like the images of them going through the level, you can see them and I guess interact with them in some way. And then, so if somebody beats a particular, whatever they call it, dungeon, I guess, then it's closed and nobody else can play it anymore. But also, if you die, that's it. You only have one shot at each dungeon and you're done. Which is I'm never going to beat any of these, obviously. But I mean, it's just like a weird, crazy idea.
It's gonna make this weird sort of like meta game where, like, how long do you wait before you try a run? Because you obviously don't want to wait too long or it'll be beaten. But you also don't want to go too early because then there won't be enough people who show you like bad ideas.
Right, yeah.
So there'll be like this meta game of like trying to like judge when to do the run. Like people staying up till like weird hours to like maximize their chance of beating it and stuff.
I'm not sold on the idea of the one dungeon from the perspective of let's say they beat one every hour. Like, there's enough people playing this game that there's one every hour. So then you 24 a day for 365 days a year. And, how many could there possibly be? Like, it's either going to have the best, most robust procedural systems that they feel fresh no matter what, or like fun no matter what, or they're going to feel like the same one over and over again. And at that point, who cares if I beat it first? Like, I actually don't know if I was designing this game, which direction I'd go. I would probably go, I want them to all feel kind of similar. And it's more about, I was the first person to beat that one. That's the achievement. But you just want the core mechanics to be really fun and solid. And beating a dungeon first is just an added bonus, or bragging rights. And it's more about I just like playing the gameplay here. Like, I think you want to go where they're not that different from each other. So the things you're talking about, like when do I want to attempt the dungeon? I'll attempt it when I'm ready because I love playing this game and it's fun. And as long as I don't screw up, I've got a chance to beat it first. So I'm interested to see like what the timing of dungeons are. Is there 10 a day? Is there 50 a day? One a day? One a week? I don't know.
Yeah, so it says here that it is procedurally generated temples. So it is kind of interesting because it means like you might end up, some temple gets generated in a way that's like super hard, and then that one will like last a long time and nobody will be able to beat. But then some other ones will get generated and be easier and be instantly completed. So, I mean, yeah, I don't know how often. Like, I don't know if you can just create a new one on the fly, like Minecraft or something. But
I don't think so. I think they'll probably release a few a day or like have them regenerate at some point and they'll have some ready to go. I mean, it obviously depends on how popular the game is too. So this is a very unique design predicament. And I mean, it's really interesting to me how you solve the problems of this game. So,
I kind of assumed it was going to be like Splunky, where they have like daily challenges kind of thing, and they generate like one per day. And then I guess, though, if it's maybe not beaten at all, it goes kind of back into the queue, or maybe it stays until it's beaten or something like that, like you guys were saying. But I definitely think they'll try to do that where they have, you know, common puzzle aspects like Splunky, where you become familiar with like that sort of puzzle, so you know how to defeat it or solve it, and then it'll be about the combination of all the different kind of puzzles together and enemy types and all that stuff that you have to then provide the challenge.
yeah, I could see there being a menu where it's like you were saying a bit, Sean, like this challenge has been active for a week. No one's beaten it yet. Like they kind of classify it after the fact based on people's success rates, right? And they kind of get shifted and there might be like a power ranking of difficulty of temple and maybe there's an economy like built into that. Like if you beat one first that no one's beaten in 2 weeks, you get some economy that rewards you for that. If you beat it really,
yeah,
you get something for that.
or like, you know, you can rate, like Mario Maker has the thing where you can rate a level when you finish it and say how hard it was or something. So maybe that'll be an aspect of it. I don't know.
Yeah, it seems like a game, if it was really popular, they could open it up to be like people can make their own and have a maker element to it. So I do want to add that when we were predicting E3 stuff, I saw somewhere else, I can't remember, the idea of Zelda Maker. Like, I'm
Yeah,
surprised.
somebody mentioned that, I think, in
Was
the
it our
comments.
Yeah, maybe it was our comments. Yeah. And that's a cool idea. Like Nintendo could take their classic games and do a maker version, like Metroid Maker, Sean. That's what it made me think of. Like,
Yeah, that'd be
what if
cool.
like Metroid likes are so popular, like they're just gonna say, yeah, you can make any Super Metroid game you want, and
Maybe that's the 2D Metroid game they're going to unveil.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, didn't think of that one. But either way, I mean, the Zelda Maker thing makes sense because they have dabbled in it a bit. And they've added Zelda elements to Mario Maker. They've had this stuff from Link's Awakening where you can
Exactly.
reorder the dungeons.
Yeah. Or you could like there was the dungeon creator in there, right? And they had like
Yeah.
ways of like systems where okay, you have this room, you need a key room, and they can do path checking and make sure like you can't break a dungeon. So that would be like I'm sure they would have systems they could reuse or adapt to do as a Metroid version of that, like to account for backtracking and I don't know. That would be really cool.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, we gotta burn through this a bit. A musical story I thought looked kind of interesting as a rhythm game with a story element that is told without words. I believe, if I remember correctly, thought it looked pretty good. That's all. I did not see the rest of this stuff. So if you guys want to fill in any blanks here, please go for it.
Well, I just wanted to double back on Vocabulantis just real quick because that was the stop motion one you mentioned, Frank. One thing I wanted to bring up, there was another stop motion game that a trailer came out like last month or 2 months ago called Harold Halibut. That's what it's called. And that is also apparently going to be shown this week at the Tribeca game showcase or whatever it's called. So it's just interesting, 2 stop motion games kind of competing, probably coming out around the same time. It sounds like the Harold Halibut one's been in development for a long time. I'm not sure about this other one, but you had a comment about that one too, right, Huck? About the look of the stop motion.
Yeah, it just looked. It almost didn't look stop motion enough to me. Like it was like the too many frames in the animation. It looked pretty fluid. But the more I watched of it, the more I could kind of see it. And the photogrammetry of the sets they made and how they showed how they were doing the sets was really impressive and really cool. So that kind of intrigued me to be more interested in the game. But yeah, overall, I thought it looked pretty neat. I don't know if the gameplay was going to intrigue me kind of more than the stop motion does, but...
Yeah, I think it is like a co-op puzzle game or something, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, it didn't really show what the gameplay was, but yeah, interesting to just think like that they from what I understand, it seemed like everything that's in the environment of this game is stuff they made by hand and then scanned into like a 3D object to put in the game, which is pretty cool. So literally everything's handmade. But yeah. And then the other one that stood out to me was this Unbeatable game, which is by a company called D-Cell Games. And it's sort of a music rhythm game. Kind of has like a Scott Pilgrim feel where you're like part of a band, but you're in this world where music is outlawed. So it's like in order to write your songs and play your concerts, you got to escape the law, I guess. I don't know exactly, but I don't know. I just thought it had a really cool art style. The music sounded cool. The concept is neat. And I think there is a demo for this one on Steam right now, so I might check that out.
It definitely gave me Scott Pilgrim vibes now that you mention it.
Yeah, I got Jet Set or Jet Grind Radio vibes.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know about the illegal aspect either, so it's kind of like the tagging and graffiti stuff in there too.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, there was a bunch of other pretty cool games, some of which we had seen before, but I don't know. Was there anything else you wanted to mention, Huck?
No, I don't think so. There was one game called Garden Story that I couldn't really totally make out. It kind of looked like some sort of like Harvest Moon-y style game, but I was running it at 2x speed to try to get through, and I thought the game looked slow at 2x speed. So I was like, am I still at 2x speed? And I was. So I was like, uh-oh, this may not be the game for me if it looks slow at 2x speed. But that's it. I can't think of anything else that stood out. A lot of the stuff kind of at the tail end was stuff we'd seen already. So I didn't really feel like I needed to watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at other stuff here. Loot River, Moonglow Bay we've seen before. You guys were talking about this Despelote game, which looks like a PS1 inspired visual kind of game. And
yeah, I was mentioning it kind of reminded me not the people, but the environments reminded me of Return of the Obra Dinn. How it does that sort of like dot matrix style or whatever they call that, 1-bit.
But they all look pretty good, so I'm definitely oh yeah, sorry, the image I'm seeing is must have been looking at a different image for that game. It's
the PS1 I think was a different one. It was like a horror game. I can't remember what it was called though.
Yeah.
Alekhead. Sorry. Alekhead, a puzzle platformer.
No, that I remember that one. I don't think that was it either. But
Demolition Robots KK.
I don't know. I'm looking at a list too, and none of them seem like the right one.
Between Despelote and Alekhead, so
Oh, it's called Walk. It was part of. They had a whole section where there was like a.
I didn't mention.
Yeah, there was like a bunch that Alekhead was one of them. They had like a group of games that were all part of a collective or something in Tokyo.
Sobu or something like that.
Yeah, so it was one of those games. But yeah, they all like everything pretty much that they showed looked cool, I thought.
All right. Yeah, all these games are great. I hope it pretty much just comes down to, is the gameplay good? And if it is, I would buy any one of these games. No questions asked. I'll probably buy them all anyway.
Yeah.
All right. So a good start to E3 festivities. Not a great one, but has me pretty pumped for the weekend and Monday and Tuesday. So do you want to get into what we played a bit? We're running kind of late.
Yeah, did anyone watch the Battlefield 2042 trailer?
No.
Okay, I also didn't watch it. I just know it came out.
How much, like, that was the big kickoff thing, I guess, technically, and I still have not watched a frame of it.
Okay. Yeah, neither have I.
And I'm usually the EA defender. Even
Yeah.
I care about the Battlefield series. All right. Let's get into some stuff we played. I'm going to briefly mention, just because it came out today, Final Fantasy VII Intergrade. I'm playing I had to buy the DLC, which is called Intermission, featuring Yuffie. And I was just excited to play this game some more. I was like, I didn't know the status of the platinum, so I thought, well, I kind of want to play through this game again and platinum it all again, but didn't have to. The old auto pop happened. I installed while I was sleeping the PlayStation 4 version to export my save, imported to PlayStation 5, auto pop trophy, ka-ching, and then got into the intermission story, which it's okay. I don't think it's amazing. I'm doing all the optional stuff right now. Like, you get it back in Midgar, and there's this mini game called, do you remember Fort Condor in Final Fantasy VII? The kind of tactical weird game. They have a version of that's, I don't know what the name of those games are. It's like, it is a tactical lane thing. I think like Clash Royale or something like that. And I was doing all of those. And
like a MOBA?
Yeah, but I think it's more like the simplified mobile MOBAs.
Okay.
I don't know. I haven't played a lot of those, so I probably sound like an idiot right now. But it was kind of fun, actually. There's like a very mild strategic element, and it was a little more accessible than a MOBA, that's for sure. But I had fun doing all those. And I was doing some side missions, which were kind of cool. I haven't done enough combat yet. Like, the intrigue of something like this is, okay, you have a new character, and like, how does that character play? That was kind of the hook with the remake. Like, each character has a different way that they use the systems and are better suited for ATB building and staggering enemies and stuff like that. So there's this kind of cool elemental switching system with Yuffie that I like. I just haven't done that much combat to really get used to it yet. So but it's pretty good. I don't think it's that long. I'm probably going to be done my first playthrough this weekend. And then I might go through again on hard, but I don't think it's very long. I think I heard 5 hours, but I mean, I just wanted to play more of this game. But it's not amazing yet by any means.
Very
Cool.
That's it.
I want to play it as soon as I get a PS5.
Yep.
I was disappointed it's only PS5, I must say.
Did you? I know I've asked this a million times. Did you platinum it for PS4?
No, I'm probably 2/3 of the way through on hard. So I'll probably have to restart hard now because
That's where people fall off the cliff. It's like, oh, this is hard, and then about 2/3. There's a couple bosses that's like, not so easy.
I don't recall getting stuck though. I just recall losing not interest, but something else coming up. But yeah.
It's fair. Yeah. John?
So, couple things. Just I mentioned I played a couple demos. So this one, I think Colin on our Discord mentioned it. So shout out to him. I hadn't I'm sure we've seen trailers for this game. I just didn't. The name didn't mean anything to me. But it's called Scarlet Nexus.
Oh yeah, that's out.
Well, the demo's out. The game comes out on June 25th. There's rumors. Crazy rumors right now this is coming to Game Pass, but apparently they've denied it. So maybe it'll be announced at E3, I'm not sure. But I don't even really know how to describe it. I mean, it's an action game. It kind of like it reminds me. It's by, uh, well, it's a Namco game, but it kind of reminds me of like a Platinum Games kind of thing. Like it's very
It's Breath of the Wild art style, from what I remember.
yeah,
Like
cell shaded art. Like I thought it was
in that
Or
game.
like Valkyria Chronicles kind of style.
yeah, like I thought it was based on an anime or something. I guess it's like an original world and story, but it has like these kind of interesting cut scenes when there's dialogue and stuff that are kind of like static images. But the action is weird. Like it took me a while to wrap my head around it, and there's just a lot of stuff going on. Like you have a sword, and you have like what do you call it? Like you can move stuff. You can move stuff with your mind.
Jesus?
Psychokinesis, and so you can do that. But then the way they like chain combos and stuff is really strange. And maybe this is based on some other game I haven't played, but it's like you have to kind of go back and forth and use both of them to like max out your combos. And like the idea is that you're like, while you're hitting somebody, you're like trying to throw an object at them at the same time, or you can like hit somebody with an object and then the next attack you take will immediately move you to them and things like that. But then there's like a tutorial, you learn to do that stuff, and then when you start the actual game, suddenly there's like other people with you, and I was like, whoa, like this is a lot to take in. But you don't control those people. You can they have different powers that you can call for them to use that kind of like buff your attack. So there's like fire. There's one that's like a teleport thing that you can also use to teleport through walls. One is like a shield. I forget what the other one is. But you're still, it's kind of like an action RPG in the sense that you're picking up gear all the time too. So there's a lot of management of stuff. But I actually was enjoying it. Like the action was pretty, made you feel powerful. It was pretty fast paced. And I did kind of dig the art style. I didn't fully follow what was going on in terms of story, but I guess that's probably kind of par for the course. But yeah, so I tried that. And then the other demo, so this is, I just wanted to mention, so Backbone, this game just came out on Game Pass on the PC. Mm-hmm. And I had played the demo for this a while back. So I haven't played, like I downloaded it, haven't played it yet since it officially released. But I just thought I'd mention it because it was pretty cool what I saw of it. Like it's a kind of a noir detective story. And you play as a raccoon in a sort of alternate version of Vancouver. And it's all animals. It kind of reminded me like of what's that?
Looks pretty cool.
Yeah,
it kind of sounds pretty neat.
Kind of reminded me of Zootopia in terms of like the world and some of the themes they seem to be playing with. But from what I remember of the demo, it was just a lot of talking. Like there was some light kind of puzzle adventure game stuff, but there was a little more talking than I was anticipating. So
I remember I played the prologue as well and found the same thing. I got a little turned off with how much dialogue there was and how little like progression, I guess you could say, there was.
Yeah. So I do want to kind of go back and give it another chance, but that was the only thing, is it seemed like kind of long-winded and slower paced. But
I love the look of the streets, like when the characters on the street and the buildings.
Yeah,
oh my God.
It looks amazing.
I installed it as well. I wanted to take a try, but I haven't either.
So, but just, I know we're kind of running long here, but I just thought I'd mention, because some people in Discord were talking about like, should you try demos of games or not? Is it a waste of time? And I would say, like, I like demos, and I think, I mean, obviously when you have something on Game Pass, it's like, why even bother giving a demo, which maybe is a hint that this Scarlet Nexus isn't coming to Game Pass. But the thing is, when you do things like the Steam Game Festival, or like, I guess what they're doing now for E3 on Xbox, a lot of those demos are pretty early sometimes and a little rough. Like if it's a demo like a week or two before the game comes out, or if the game is already out, then I would say that it's probably a better indication of what the game is. but sometimes those early ones, you don't really know what you're getting. So it's interesting, but you can't always base whether you buy a game on that. That would be my kind of
as a game
approach.
developer, it's super risky to put out an early demo because you risk like turning off people if it's not good. Like you want to really make sure that demo is battle hardened and like really catches people's attention, because if it's, and then it could really piss people off too if like the demo is really good and then it's not really representative of the game or like the progression in the game or something. You could turn off people that way as well.
Yeah, I'm surprised they don't frame them as like early access demos, because that's a pretty common terminology, like early access, but you typically have to pay for early access. So if you called it an early access demo, I think people would get the idea that it's not finished, might not hold it against the game forever if they don't like it. So,
well, the big push on Steam that was, I think they're kind of going away from it right now, but Backbone did this. But basically, in order to get placement in like the Steam storefront, they were putting up a prologue, like they'd call it a prologue. So essentially, it's like a little bit of custom content that represents the game and is supposed to be kind of like before the game, and you put that up as a free demo on the Steam store, and it's like its own app, and then that gets shot up to the charts, and then of course in the description there you have a link to the full game store website page on Steam. So that is how people were trying to drive sales to their game before it came out as like a demo. And I think people are going away from that now, but it was really popular for a long time. If you looked at like top free games, it was like all these prologues for a while. And
also, like, if it's bad, it like those terrible ratings are not on the permanent ID for the game either, right? So if people are shitting on it, you could make it better and not have your permanent Steam rating affected.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. So, but I think there was one comment, I can't remember who it's by, saying that, you know, YouTube Let's Plays are pretty much, or like, you know, quick reveal kind of first impression videos are enough for them in terms of a demo now. And I kind of like that as well, because with YouTube, you can kind of skip around, you can jump ahead, you can jump back really easily. You don't have to sit there and play it for the whole duration. You can kind of quickly jump through, especially if there's some stuff that looks kind of boring. Maybe you're not totally sold on it. You can just kind of skip ahead quickly. You don't have to sit there and play the whole thing. So I like the YouTube style for demoing games, quote unquote demoing.
Yeah, I think it depends on the kind of game. Like I feel like there are certain games where it's really about the feel of it, but I agree overall you can get a pretty good sense, especially if like the streamer is somebody that you kind of know and you can maybe base on their reaction too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
I do want to, I'm just thinking of this, give a shout out to Josh, who was the one who mentioned the Zelda Maker stuff in the comments that I pretended like I stole the idea from. I did like it.
Yeah, and if you want to join the Discord, which we've been mentioning, there's a link at gamejunkpodcast.com, and I think on the Facebook page.
Most of the episodes have it in there as well.
Yeah, if you watch it on YouTube, it's in the description for everyone. You play anything else, Dwight?
No, I picked up Kaze. It's on sale right now on PSN. Played a little bit of it. We've talked about it a million times. I don't need to go into it. It's good.
Oh, we need to talk about it.
In the same sale, I picked up Super Meat Boy Forever, which I had played a bit on the Epic Game Store. I do not like this game. No, I find the controls clunky when they need. Like, you have to be so precise in this game. The first boss took me forever. Did you play a boss, Sean?
Yeah, I made it to the fourth boss, I think, and some of them did take me a long time. I found that over time I was getting into it. I was like slowly improving, but then when I hit that, I think it's the fourth boss, I gave up. I haven't gone back to it since.
Yeah, I think for an endless, like I haven't played a lot of endless runners, but they're puzzly, right? Like it's about figuring out the combination of things, but they almost expect you to take too big of a step sometimes. Like I'm like it's some totally new concept, and I'm figuring it out, and it's like it's killing the flow of an endless runner. I just think the original Super Meat Boy design is much stronger and much more fun. I guess the appeal of this is like it's randomly generated, like it's you could play it a bunch of times, which is kind of interesting. But I don't know, it was frustrating the hell out of me last night. I was like,
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a little better than what people are saying, but it seems like generally I haven't heard much about it. It just kind of came, and I don't think people are talking about it the same way they talked about the original.
yeah, I was not digging it. All right. Anyone else have anything?
Yeah, I played Biomutant. And I must say I am kind of in the same boat. I've already put it in the return pile for the library, sending it back
No,
very
there was a
early.
new patch. Like I think I saw it download yesterday, 2.03 or something like that. So I don't know what they fixed.
Yeah, I'm not sure which version I was playing, but I think I found it pretty much similar to what you guys like. The running was weird, how you don't really move faster. The combat was pretty good, but repetitive. I kind of liked how there was like combos that would like launch people up into the air if you parried properly and all that stuff. I didn't mind that, but I don't I don't think the RPG systems are working in that game because I made basically like my version of Rambo. So I made him full strength. I made him basically whatever a soldier type guy is. I can't remember the name of the class or whatever. So my strength was like 100, over 100. I had all in strength. So I'm like, okay, I'm just going to like one punch everyone in these first areas. Nope, not even close. I was hitting guys probably 4 to 6 times before they would go down. So I'm like, what does strength even do? And then like my shooting also wasn't extremely powerful. And the default value, if I didn't do that, was like 22. So I don't know, a 4x increase or a 5x increase seems like I should be one-shotting guys. So like when you guys played, I'm assuming you didn't do what I did and do like Super Commando. Was it taking like 20 hits to kill guys, or was it taking like 4 to 6?
Maybe like 8 to 10. I put a lot into strength, but I didn't like. I think I was the saboteur class, so
Okay.
I was kind of going mostly between that and agility, strength and agility, because I wanted to be faster.
I think I put mine into weapons. I have no idea. It was
Okay. So, and then I took like the dark route. So I was going to be like badass Rambo, basically. That was my like headcanon for my guy. And then, so I get out of the kind of first area into the open world and I start exploring around. I was like, okay, it's really far between places and I have nothing really to do. And you're talking to these random people. And then I just keep declining everything and my dark keeps going up. I'm like, okay, that's kind of cool. And then I get to like the first main, I guess, quest point, and it's some temple that apparently I'm at war with or something. There's like some faction now I'm now all of a sudden involved with. Like the story is so hard to understand why I'm doing things. I'm not motivated to go anywhere. So I go out to this temple and the guard is like, "Oh, you're a stranger. I don't know if I should let you in." And then I just say, "I'm here to see dude." And they're like, "Oh, okay. Come on in." I'm like, "What? Okay, I guess." So I go in, I talk to the guy, and then I'm playing badass Rambo, so I'm just like, I don't need you, like screw this. And he's like, okay, well go talk to other guy on the other side. I'm like, okay. So then I walk all the way to the other side of the area, and I'm like, walk up to their gate, and the guy literally says the exact same thing. I say, I'm here to see your boss. And he's like, okay, come on in. And then I like, and all the questions are exactly the same as they were for the first temple. I answer them all exactly the same, basically saying like, I don't care about this. I'm not with you. And then I automatically join their faction and then have to like battle the other faction. I'm like, this is not what I was trying to say.
Well, I think you have to choose one or the other. So apparently
Well, I didn't
they
want
forced
to.
you down a path.
I didn't want it. I'm rogue, bud. So anyways, so I got stuck on somebody's team, and then and then I had to go basically back to where I was the first time when I declined, because now I was against them, and then I had to, and then that's when I said, okay, that's good. Like, I've had enough. I put in probably like an hour, but it did not grab me. The environments looked nice. I mean, some of the combat was really frustrating. Like, guys, I know there was like an indicator you can turn on to show when guys are coming from behind you, but I didn't turn that on, and sometimes it was really frustrating because they would like throw things at me and it would hit me. But overall, yeah, didn't grab me. Wasn't very fun. Had no real motivation to go anywhere in that game. And yeah, didn't capture my attention. I think the same for you guys.
Well, to me, the only motivation really that there should be is that it's fun, and that makes you want to go anywhere and do anything. And when that's not even the case, then you're really struggling for motivation.
Yeah. It just seemed like the quests were not interesting at all. So.
Yeah, it does make you realize how much the mobility in a open world game is important, because in this one, like I said, even when you get the mount, you're still moving pretty slow. So
that's what I remember. The gameplay trailer, the character was like dashing through the level and climbing up cliffs like 90, and I'm like, oh, this is like infamous Second Son. Like, I'm moving around, and then they go to play it, and it's nothing like that.
The other weird thing was
maybe when you level up, you eventually get there.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. But like, I mean, that's the fundamental design problem with that whole game. They made it an RPG. It should not be an RPG.
Yeah. The other weird thing was they made you watch like the opening cinematic, and then it takes you to the start screen, and then you hit start, and then it's basically like an in-game version of that exact same cinematic. I don't know if maybe I could have skipped that first cinematic. I didn't know if I could or not, but it seemed weird. I thought the game was just going to start for me, and then I had to like basically play an in-game version of that exact same thing. It was just really strange that they would kind of like duplicate the exact same content right out of the gate. I guess they thought it was like a big hook and it would get you into the game, but I don't know why you would show you twice. I don't know. It was weird.
I'm with you.
But that's it for me. I didn't play anything else really. Running around the Citadel a little more, doing some quests. That's all.
All right. Well, next week will be huge.
Oh, you know what? As a one thing, if people are interested in finding the schedule for the Summer Game Fest, you can go to summergamefest.com, and it's got like all the conference times and everything. So I don't know. I'm finding it hard to track where everything is and when everything happens. So that's one spot I think that has it all.
Nice. So I mean, it might be a classic Game Junk next week. We're gonna have to talk about this.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we should do some reaction videos to the actual press conferences.
I am open to it. You guys have much busier lives than I do, so I'm not going to put that on. I'm going to put it on you because I'm available any day. But yeah, we'll be talking about E3 stuff. Is it called Summer Games Fest now? Is that the whole? Is it actually E3?
I don't know.
They're their own thing. Like, I don't know why Summer Games Fest has the schedule for all the E3 stuff as well. I guess maybe just because they're covering it, but they're kind of their own events that are just happening at the same time.
Okay. Well, check us out on youtube.com/GameJunk. And on Twitter, we got Film Junk over there, Sean. And Hux City is My Angry Commute, and Equilibrium Sis. Get ready. It's coming. I mean, I could have been playing Ratchet and Clank for 13 minutes now. That's my only recording. But yeah, there'll be lots to talk about next week. I don't even know if we'll get to Ratchet and Clank. I'm gonna beat it by Saturday. Apparently, it's only 10 hours. I'm so pumped.
Perfect. That's a perfect length.
It is. I'm so excited. All right, we'll see you next time. Bye-bye. This Windows update, did you guys get this one? It put like this stupid weather widget in my bottom right hand corner.
Yeah, I got it.
Wow, and when you hover over it, it takes over everything.
It looks like malware. I'm like, did my parents come click on a stupid link on my
Yep.
Holy shit. That is like, look at the resolution on that. That is awful. That is
I know the clock. The clock has better resolution than that.
oh. Oh.
Disable. Disable.
Oh my god. That's the ugliest thing I've ever seen. I might allow you to put this at the end of the episode. Oh god, that's bad. That's really fucking bad. All right. Ready to roll?